Alright guys, so I've taken a frame out, let them fill it up, the frame that had the comb on it. I took it out, I put another frame in, and they basically filled it up at this point. They have enough bees now that have hatched out of the brood to where there's 2 frames full of brood. So I'm going to go ahead and move them into a 5-frame nuke at this point. Let me get set up and then I'll be right back with you. Alright, so the good thing about these 2-frame nukes is as long as you get whatever frame you use to start with your queen, as long as you get a frame that is absolutely full of brood, then within about 2 to 3 days, 5 days, 6 days, somewhere in there, they're going to have they're going to be drawing out all the comb on the blank frame, and at the same time they're going to be hatching out brood. You can see the bees returning. They're confused about where their home is. But anyway, they'll be hatching out brood, so they'll take up both frames, and you'll need to move on to another size hive by the time they're ready to produce their queen, or when the queen. Hang on, I'll be right back. Sorry, I forgot to get the screen bottom board in there. But anyway, by the time the queen has made her mating flight and about to make her mating flight and then comes back and all that kind of stuff, they'll already have everything built out. Take these out of the way. Start moving these girls over. So by the time the queen gets mated and does her thing and gets back and lands and all that, they're in a 5-frame. Because remember, when she comes back, I'm just making sure there is no queen. But when she gets back, she's going to bring other bees with her. So you don't want her to land in the 2-frame nuke, because it'll be too many bees for that size hive. But they have this one pulled out about, I'd say about 50%. They've got this one out probably about 80%. Need to cut that branch there. So that's the 2 frames that were in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a completely blank frame, put it next to the brood frame. I'm going to take one of the pulled out honey comb, and I'm going to put it at the very end. That's going to be the last one they're going to want to work on anyway. And then I'm going to put the other one that's got nothing on it next to the one that they've got pulled. So that'll give them plenty of room to play around with. We'll just set that right there. put the sugar water back on the top. So now they're confused about where they live. That's why they're all flying around trying to get oriented and figure out what's going on here. So it'll take them a while to do all that. I may put it up, I may let it record, and we'll just put it on fast forward, let you see them work everything out. There's still quite a few bees in there. So again, the idea is, you know, people were commenting on the last video that, you know, when you use a 2-frame nuke, every time they do it, when the queen returns back, then all of a sudden there's so many bees that come back with the queen that they end up just swarming out of that hive because it's too small for them. You know, even right when she comes back. So the goal of the 2-frame nuke, there's two purposes. If you got a queen that's hatching out of a hive and you catch it and you want to develop that queen into a hive, you can just take the queen out of there and some brood out of there, some worker bees, and then let them build a hive with just 2 frames, so they have no space. So the only thing they'll do is just start producing that wax, and then start pulling the frames. And then when they get strong enough for the 2 frames, you can move them to a 5 frame, and then when they're strong enough for the 5 frame, move them to a 10 frame. There's a lot of things you can do with these 2-frame nukes, but in my situation, we were in one of our hives. The hive was overpopulated. That's the hive over here. It had the brood chamber on the bottom, the 10 frame deep, and it has 3 supers, and they were out of room, but they weren't done building the supers out, so we couldn't add another super. Instead, I took one of their frames of brood, which was end to end, and I put it in a 2-frame nuke so that they could get to a point where they realize they have no queen. That takes about 2 to 3 days, and then they realize, oh, we don't have a queen, we need to produce a queen. Then they go check and see what kind of stock they got in the egg to larvae stage. Well, they're not going to have any eggs in 3 days because it takes 3 days and they turn into larvae. So now they're larvae, so you know, they take the right age, which is a larvae age, and then they say, okay, we're going to turn this one, and that one into queens, start giving the royal jelly to the queen, and then it's going to take the queen 6 to 9 more days from the point that it's capped to hatch. In all that time, they're going to completely pull the wax out on 1 frame. You can take that frame, take it out, put a new frame in. They'll pull the wax out on that 2nd frame. Okay? So now you have 2 frames that the wax is pulled on. You have a queen in development, and then you can take a 3rd frame, stick it down in there after you pull the 2nd frame, and while the queen's being developed, they'll be pulling the 3rd frame. So you have 3 total frames pulled, plus the frame that you brought over is already pulled, the one that they were using for the brood. So you've got 4 total frames that are ready to go in a 5-frame nuke. That's what the use of a 2-frame nuke's for. It's a speedy process, very speedy process. So I'm gonna leave it alone. Y'all can I made this, put it on fast forward, let you record it. If you're still using the 2 frame, when the queen returns and she pulls all of her bees in, you can do an immediate split. Immediately, when you see that it's got a beard on it and it's all covered with bees and there's just too many bees because she's returned, then you can go right to that thing. You can pull 1 frame out, stick it in another 2-frame box, let them start working on it, and then take another frame, and that means you're taking half the bees and you're putting them into a second 2-frame hive. Now you got 2 2-frame, 10-frame, 2 2-frame nukes where you're developing a queen. One's already returned and it's going to be starting laying. The other one's going to be developing a queen. And so you can just mass produce queens, mass produce hives, mass produce whatever you want to do. There's a lot of purposes and points of using the 2-frame nuke, but like it was said in the comments, if you're going to use a 2-frame nuke, just be aware that when she returns, the queen, when she goes on her mating flight and comes back, she's going to bring a ton of bees back with her. It's just, it always works out that way. Very, very seldom. I mean, there are times where she don't bring that many back and they fit in the 2-frame nuke just fine, and they don't swarm, they don't do anything. But that's rare. The bulk of the time, she's going to bring back a bunch of bees with her just because of the pheromone on her, because she's on a mating flight. She's going to draw in some new bees, and they're all going to be coming back to the hive, and so you're going to have an overpopulation issue. So again, you can split that into 2 hives, maybe even make 3 hives, as long as they're only 2-frame nukes, and you can get some new queens in the process of being developed. You take half of those bees, stick them in there, go to one of your other hives, pull you out a weak frame of brood, let them pull that, use that brood and produce a queen. So you can have 2-3 different queens going all at one time. It's completely up to you what you want to do, but at some point, yes, absolutely, they got to come out of the 2-frame nuke. And so I just wanted to bring all this information up and explain how I use them. I mean, when I have a hive that's getting ready to swarm, to prevent the swarm, I pull the frame because it gives them something to do, it gives them space, and it gives them something to do on the brood chamber, down at the core of it where the queen is. And they realize, oh, we got room, we got to pull this whole thing out still. So they start working on that. I'll take that frame and I'll put it in a 2-frame nuke and let them start pulling the frame next to it, start pulling the comb on it, pull the wax out and produce, you know, make the frame completely full of wax. Pull that frame, put a new frame in, while they're working on realizing they have no queen, and then realizing, yeah, we need to build a queen cell and produce a queen. While they're doing all that, they're building frames up for me. And so I can get all these different frames that are freshly pulled, ready to go. They can be used in their hive, it can be taken to other hives, but I can just mass produce pulled frames. That's the whole point of it for me. You guys can do with it what you want. In the end, they go to a 5-frame, and then once they have completely and utterly, absolutely, utterly maxed out that 5-frame, then I'll move them to a 10-frame. So I use a 2-frame to get things started and to get comb pulled out on the frames. Then I move them to a 5-frame, let them absolutely max it out. Then they go to a 10-frame. Then they go into winter. That's how I do it. They can go through winter on a 5-frame, so I can produce hives, you know, 5-frame nukes, all the way basically till fall. And then after that, it's getting to the point where it's getting too close to winter. They need to be strong. They need to have their stuff stored up. There's no point in producing anymore. Just let them strengthen themselves as we head into winter at that point. So there's everything, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. And they're pretty much out of that box. There's maybe about 20 left in there. But there's the tape I had over the cover, over the hole of the original hive. So I love you guys. Get in the word, stay in the word, get the word in you. I hope this video has helped you out and giving you some ideas, some concepts. You know, beekeeping is all about you. It's all about how you want to do it. There is no right way. You know, and I appreciate the people that made those comments, especially about, you know, it's never worked for me. Every time they come back, they're too big and they swarm. You know, thank you for those comments. I appreciate it. I mean, you know, comment whatever you want, guys. I mean, it helps everybody in the beekeeping concept. So it helped to remind me to bring out in the videos that, you know what, you know, a lot of people don't know that, and so they don't understand what I'm doing here and what I do. But again, this is my way of beekeeping. Everyone has their own way. You're going to learn your own way as you continue to do beekeeping. I mean, if you're new to beekeeping, you're learning from other people, but eventually you're going to have your own style and you're going to do it your way that works best for you in your area based on your situation and your type of bees and all that kind of stuff. So the bottom line is there is no wrong way to do beekeeping. Yes, you can lose bees, but if you're smart, you're learning from the process. Why did I lose them? What did I do wrong? How do I avoid that? And then you move on to the next step. You know, and you learn from each thing as you go, and then you start to learn little secrets, like, you know, you start the queen out, you let them draw your frames out for you. By the time you move them into the 5-frame box, they've already drawn out most of the frame. I've got 2 blanks in here, but they've already drawn 3 frames altogether for me. But I've got 2 blanks in here anyway, because I might need those frames for other places. So it's all about, you know, you learning to beekeep your way. There is no wrong way. Don't be scared. Try things. Learn. Experiment. See what works best. Try different things. And anyway, get in the word, stay in the word, get the word in you. Father, bless every one of you guys. Our Lord Jesus Christ be with every one of you. The Holy Spirit guide you into all truth. And again, I really hope this has helped you out. And again, thank you for the comments. Those that commented, I really do appreciate it. And believe it or not, you've helped people out tremendously by doing that. So there it is, guys.